Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the go-to platform where faith-driven entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and experts share their stories, wisdom, and expertise to inspire and impact others. This isn't just another interview series. This is a strategic platform designed to amplify the voices of high-level entrepreneurs, which especially includes kingdom entrepreneurs who are making a real difference in their industries. My goal is simple: to serve you, the expert, by giving you a stage to share your message, expand your reach, and create lasting value for others. Through authentic, in-depth conversations, we uncover the real journeys, challenges, and victories behind today's leading experts. Each interview isn't just content. It's a powerful asset that helps you to establish authority, increase visibility, and connect with the right people. So with that, let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to yet another expert interview with Ken. And today I have a special guest. Her name is Rose Davidson, and she is an award-winning indie podcaster, podcast coach, and creator of the, oh gosh, can you pronounce that for me? OPALSystem and TheSHINE Formula, two signature frameworks that empower entrepreneurs to launch professional podcasts and share their authentic message with confidence. As host and producer of the Talking with the Experts, one of the top-ranked business podcasts globally, Rose has interviewed hundreds of thought leaders and change makers. Drawing from lived experience, she helps others to find their voice, overcome fear, and amplify their impact. Rose is also co-founder of the Healing Through Love, a heart-centered initiative supporting survivors of domestic and family violence. Welcome, Rose. I am so excited to have you here today. And so the way I want to start this interview, and I'm going to hand the microphone right over to you. The way I want to start this, so I want you to kind of unpack your story. How did you get here? You know, why is this such a passion of yours? And all the things. So the microphone is yours, my friend.
Thanks, Ken. It's lovely to be here, and thank you so much for inviting me on. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. Yeah, I started podcasting back in 2020, just after we all went into lockdown here in Australia. And I noticed that a lot of business owners, especially bricks and mortar businesses, were having to close their doors. And being the heart-centered person that I am, it was very sad for me to see that happening. And I thought there must be a way that they can pivot in their businesses to bring them online so that people can still make money. So I thought about, why don't I start a podcast? Now, I hadn't had a lot to do with podcasting. I'd never listened to one, but I'd heard about them. And I thought, well, give it a go. You can only, fail or win. And so I just started where I was sitting with my laptop. I didn't have any special equipment or anything like that. So I invited a Facebook friend of mine to be my first interview, and then I invited others, and that's pretty much where it started. I've been going now for 5 years, and I've just completed my 662nd interview.
Wow. 600 and how many?
62.
62. Holy cow. You know, it's said out there that not many podcasts make it past episode 10. And there's definitely even less that make it to episode 100. And you've made it past 600 today. So that is an incredible accomplishment. So now, what do you do? So you teach people how to get started. So, our part of our topic today is stepping up to the mic, and sharing your voice. So, how do you teach people how to do that? How do you teach people to overcome things like fear of being in front of the camera? Because I know for people like me, when I first got started, being in front of the camera, seriously, number one, my founding mentor literally had to pull tooth and nail to get me to even be in front of the camera. So I'm definitely not one of those natural born ones. I mean, I've interviewed people that are just naturally born, um, great in front of the camera, great in front of the mic. I had to actually work on that. So how do you help people overcome that in the very beginning?
Thing doesn't necessarily have to be video. You can just do audio ones. And a lot of podcasters, because they, much like you and me, I don't like to be in front of the camera. Doing a podcast, I'm fine because there's somebody that I can see. But if I have to do a Facebook Live or do a solo something in front of the camera, I'm absolutely hopeless. I just don't like it, and I have no self-confidence in doing that at all. But for me to teach other people to do that, it's something that you learn. I think confidence comes with doing, and the more you do it, the more confident you'll become. And as I said, podcast season doesn't have to include video. You can just do audio ones, and that's perfectly fine. So getting the confidence in front of camera really isn't a necessary tool to being a podcaster.
However, what the funny thing is now that I've had a lot of experience with it, I actually like being in front of the camera. I have no problem with it. Like, I got a lot of confidence, but it's interesting. But it is true. That is very true. So you do not need to be in front of the camera to be a successful podcaster. And, for a lot of people maybe listening to this, that might be a comfort to you. So you don't have to. I don't mind being in front of the camera now. I guess that's because my founding mentor did a good job with me by getting me out there. But so you've built one of the top rated business podcasts in the world. What are the key ingredients that made Talking with the Experts stand out? Let's talk about that a bit.
I guess for me, coming in the top 5% globally was a great surprise. I just went into listen notes one day and there I was sitting top 5%, and I couldn't believe it. But I think the key to reaching that is being consistent, having things that people want to watch, and topics that people are interested in. I think that that's really important. And yeah, just keep going. So, if you stop at 10 and have a break, that's fine. But, pick the reins back up and do it again and keep going. And, don't let the back end part of podcasting, so the editing and the production part of it, deter you from continuing on, because production can take some time unless you've got the finances to outsource.
That's true. And I wish I had the finances to outsource in the very beginning, because I'm going to tell you, I used to edit the crap out of all my videos in the beginning. I would spend way too long on the back end. Like, I would be like, I don't know, it would probably take me 2-3 hours to freaking edit the episode, because of the fact I was so self-conscious, number one, for, just in the beginning. I paid attention to every I paid attention to every like nuance, like, and even the word like, which I still say the word like today all the time, but I'm just not so picky about it, because one of the things I've realized through experience and through doing enough reps with it, one of the things I realized is, even in spite of what others may teach around the ums and different things like that, I've learned to kind of accept a lot of them, because of the fact it's just normal flow conversation. If I have an episode that I put out or something like that, or a video that I put out, and there's a ton of ums in it, then maybe I might edit some out. But what I've really noticed is, if there's a lot of ums and there's a lot of real glitches, chances are I just wasn't focused. So a lot of times what I will do is I will go and delete that and I will redo it in the energy that I know I can produce. So that's what's really, really interesting about it. But yeah, in the very beginning, I used to spend way too much time editing. And nowadays, I don't worry about it too much. I kind of adopt a concept that my current business coach has: do it messy if you have to.
Mm.
In the beginning,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I think that a lot of podcasters overproduce or over edit. I mean, I was on a podcast recently and the interview was great, but there was a lot of other video type stuff put in, whilst I was talking, rather than just focusing on topic. There were things like, places from my website and fill a video. And to me, that doesn't make a good podcast episode. I think being natural on screen, being natural as we speak, and the ums and ahs, who really cares? As long as you're authentic, people will listen.
yeah,
And yeah, unless you and ah a lot, it
yes.
really, to me, it's, as you say, it's just natural flow speaking, and just leave it in because it's the real you. Don't pretend you're somebody you're not. Don't overproduce. Don't over edit. To me, I it still takes me about 2.5 hours to do an episode, because by the time I load it to Buzzsprout and to YouTube and then do a website page and then upload it to LinkedIn as well, it takes all that time
Mhm.
to get all the bits and pieces together to be able to produce a listen worthy episode.
I think time factor for people like you and I today, I think where the time it takes comes in for us, because we're not doing a lot of editing, is now we're having to wait for uploads. We're having to wait for, the rendering of the video. And then sometimes that takes, I've had videos take like 20 minutes and I'm sitting there going,
Yeah.
oh, come on. So it's a lot of the upload speeds and everything else. I've kind of learned to multitask through it, but it's like, it's crazy. But I agree. And here's another thing for the listeners too, that I can give you some reassurance and some comfort as well. So in the beginning, sure, you might be a little messy. You might be a little all over the place. That's natural. You just need to get enough reps in. But as you get good at it and as you continue with the reps, actually, interesting enough, the ums, they're going to start disappearing. The little ticks and little things that annoy you as you hear it, they're going to start disappearing because you're aware of it and you're learning to articulate a little bit more. So yeah, all that's so good. So how does somebody develop their own signature sound or style as a host? How does that work?
Think that comes naturally. For me, it was just get in front of the camera, get in front of the mic, and just go for it and just be me. I think that is so important, that you just be authentic, be yourself, and don't try and, you know, put airs and graces on and do all those things that, we're not Stephen Bartlett's and we're not Mel Robbins. We're just normal people trying to get across our point to help other people.
Hmm.
That's what my podcast is for. It's for business owners, to help other business owners get better businesses. So, just be normal, and people will appreciate that, rather than, trying to be something you're not and having something that's overproduced.
100%, 100%. It's very huge to be normal and be yourself. And that's the thing. And I do tend to agree. It is something that is going to start happening a little bit. It's something that's going to start happening naturally, because as you start doing it more and the more repetitions, again, what's going to happen is you're going to eventually develop, oh, I like this sound. This is part of who I am. This is what I'm passionate about. And so you kind of develop your own brand that way. Now, for you, how has podcasting personally changed you emotionally, spiritually, or even professionally? How has it changed you as a person?
I think it's the fact that I've met so many wonderful people and I'm learning all the time. Each guest brings their own spin on a topic, and um, I like to learn. So I've learned a lot. And there's things like when I first started, I didn't know a lot about marketing, but now I know a lot about marketing. And if you ask me a question
Yeah.
about it, then in a conversation, I can actually give an answer to that. So it's made it easier for me. It's helped me to grow as a person in the fact that my knowledge base now is a lot better than it was when I first started. And I can actually carry on a conversation with, CEOs and people of that ilk that are quite high up in their organization and multi millionaires basically. And I can actually talk to them at their level because I've learned so much. And that's what podcasting can do for you too. If you have a hosted one, a guest one like I do, if you do solo ones, it's obviously, I think confidence is the thing. You build your own confidence when you're doing it solo.
Mm. Now, here's an interesting question that I, just thought of. And yeah, what do you do when, like, how do you handle it when you get somebody that you're interviewing and it's a topic that you absolutely have no relation to, you have no idea. And like for me, like that topic would be real estate. I get somebody on and I have them talking about real estate. I have a hard time finding out what questions to ask and how to keep the interview flowing and different things like that. Because this is not a topic that I can relate to. I know nothing about real estate and I'm not really interested in real estate. So, and I just use that as an example, but
Mm.
how do you handle those kind of people that come your way that have a topic that you're just like, I have no clue.
I've had a few of those, especially in the beginning, and it was quite a challenge. So what I did was I changed my intake form or onboarding form to put that they had to have three key points that the listeners would learn from the interview. So I just gauged my questions from that. A lot of times you can, if you, I've put a blurb in there to tell me also how what they're going to be discussing and how it's going to help the audience. And so I get the questions from that. A lot of times I get the questions from the bio because a lot of people put like huge bios in there. It's like a life story when
Yes.
I only ask for 150 words, and it takes up half a page. And I think, oh my goodness, can't you read the instructions? And it's, people are just, especially if they're new to being interviewed, they get nervous. They want to give as much information as possible, and so that's where I got a lot of my questions from, was the information that the guest supplies. And yeah, so if I don't know anything about something, I just learn from that. And it helps to do a bit of research beforehand too. If you don't know the person or you don't know their background, Google's a friend to everybody. So
Yeah, it is. It is. Now that brings up another curious question. What do you do with the people? Okay, so you got the people that give you like these huge, gigantic bios. And like for me, I just usually take those and throw it into ChatGPT and have it summarize it for me. But what do you
yeah.
do when you get the people that give you, and this is before I was being specific about what I want the bios to look like. I'd get people that would come in my world and want to be interviewed with, and they would give me like this little two sentencer that doesn't do anything for them. So what do you do with something like that?
I fortunately haven't had that happen. But what I would do is do some Google research and research them, find their bio on LinkedIn, or they must have something on Facebook, or they must have something about them somewhere, websites. So you do a little bit of research. It takes, to me, it's not my job to supply that information, but I have had on occasion where I've had to to do some research to find out about what the person does, because they haven't supplied enough information, but it's been more than one or two sentences, but it's just didn't really tell me a great deal about them. So a podcast host, should be researching their guests if they're a bit unsure. Sometimes I've had guests apply and they haven't fit the business model that I use. So, I have to politely cancel them. So, there's all sorts of ways of doing that. And, if you're not satisfied with the information that they've supplied, you can always email them and ask them to supply something else, or you can just cancel them.
I don't think I've ever been in a situation where I've had to just simply cancel somebody because they didn't apply. I think that might be something that happens in the future, but not because of that, just because maybe they just weren't quite a fit of what I was looking for. Because I know part of what I use my interview platform for is to bring people into my world so I can exchange stories and I can share with, and they can hear what it is I do and how I help people and different things like that. So it's also kind of a funnel system for me in a way. Yeah, I have had those. I had a couple of them in the very beginnings where they just gave me a 2-sentencer and I was just like, no, this is not working. You need to give me something that's going to build you up as a thought leader and expert that you are, because that's what this is for. It's for you to shine your light, to get up and speak your voice. What's that message that you want to get out? You want to scream from the rooftops. That's what it's there for, is to give you that opportunity to get that message out. Now, with that, what about some of the really timid people that have had their confidence squashed, people that have been silenced, people that have been just dismissed in the past? And how do you help them to reclaim their confidence and getting back in front of the mic and stepping up to the mic and sharing their voice? And that's our topic today, sharing your voice, stepping up to the mic. So how do you help people like that reclaim that confidence?
Be a bit of a tricky one. I think you have to build their confidence up outside of the podcasting area. I think you would have to do some really close work with them to build their confidence up before they got back in front of the mic. I think sometimes getting in front of the mic can be like falling off a bike and getting back on. Just get your confidence back up that way. I don't have a set plan on how I do that. I think it depends on the individual and how they are placed with their confidence as it goes. But I can't really answer that question, and it just depends on the person.
Yeah, it's totally cool. You actually did answer the question. So I love that. I love that. I would just honestly say for me, I would just honestly say, just get back in front of the mic. You fall off the horse. What do you got to do? Get back up on the horse and learn from it. It's kind of the same thing I teach each one of my clients, through their journey. You're going to have moments where you fall off that horse. You're going to have moments where things aren't just looking that good. Well, what you get to do is you get to use that as leverage and as a learning point, grow from it, learn from it, get stronger from it, and get back up on the horse. Keep going. That's the key. Failure is only failure if you stay down. And so, I mean, if, what I would say to people is, if you are, if you've lost your confidence, if you've been silenced, well, get back up. So I mean, yeah.
Yeah, for me, that's what I do. If I lose my confidence in something, I would just get back up on and do whatever it is I need to do. I think it's something that's inbuilt in people. They have the wherewithal to be able to get back up on the horse, or they just don't, and they just give up. For me, I don't give up. If I find a challenge, I will find a solution for it. So I'm like, last night after I went to a networking meeting, I decided to change my office around,
Mm.
and the desk fell apart,
Oh,
and I couldn't work out how to put it back together again. So I sat there and I sat there and I sat there and I looked at it and thought about it, and I actually put it back together about 11:30 last night. Yeah, and then left all the computer stuff until this morning. But yeah, so for me, finding a solution to a problem is what I do best. And I think that's what people need to do. If they lose their confidence, you can find it by just doing small things for yourself every single day uh, to build up that confidence. So, do something that's a bit out of your comfort zone. Just a little tiny steps. You don't need to take, big, huge leaps of faith into the burning fat or anything like that. Just little tiny steps each day will build that confidence back up. Whether you just go and have a cup of tea and just think about it, and what has taken and stripped that confidence away.
mm. That's such gold. That totally is gold. Now, you are also the co-founder of Healing Through Love, an initiative supporting survivors of domestic family violence. How did that mission begin, and how did that kind of become like part of who you are and the branding and everything?
It started when it was someone's project and they were looking for someone to do their admin work. And a friend of mine suggested that I come on board to do all that because I used to be a super admin person back in the day.
Hmm.
So that's how it started. And so there were four of us, and we were trying to organise a pamper day for survivors of domestic violence. So that's how it all started. It was a project to organise an event. And so that's what Healing Through Love is main mission is, to hold these pamper days. They're free events where hairdressers and makeup people and you get facials and massages and
Mm.
tarots read and all those sorts of things. And we've just last year moved them internationally. There's one in Oregon, in Portland in Oregon. She held two last year. So yeah, we're trying to get it on an international basis. It's been a bit of a hard slog doing that, but we have so we have the Pamper Days. We also have a podcast as well that we do on a weekly basis.
How many people have you interviewed, or how many people have come through your, not just interviewed, but how many people have come through your world, wanted to start podcasts, but they're still very, very, very affected by trauma that they've been through in the past and by past hurt and everything else, and they are scared out of their mind to get in front of the mic. How do you help people heal from that and get in front of the mic again and speak their voice?
I haven't had anyone at that stage, so I can't really answer that question, but I would just encourage people to just give it a go. Even if you just record yourself and don't put it out there, just sit in front of the camera, sit in front of the mic, and just talk about your day or talk about your trauma, talk about whatever, anything at all, then play it back to yourself. And if you like what you see, then, continue on. If you don't like what you say, then improve the things that you don't like. That's all I can suggest.
Hmm. That's powerful. I would also add to that as well. So I do know I know like a handful of people that have been through some crazy trauma in their past. One of them being my own coach. I think it was 2017, she lost her husband due to a sudden accident. Truck was going too fast through an intersection, ran into her husband and gone. And she's a Christian, so she was following God's call in her life that time. And then I remember part of her story was, all right, I don't understand why you brought me to this point, but if you can do something out of this, then, you've got my yes. And 4 days later, God called her to get back in front of the microphone and to start sharing her story, raw, real, and tears and everything. And because of that, it's turned, not only her business, her ministry, everything into just such a thriving thing. She's a phenomenal coach as well. And so, in light of that, I would say use the trauma, use the hurt, use the pain, get in front of the microphone, share that, because you never know who's going to be listening on the other end. You never know who's going to need to hear that. Oh my gosh, this person's going through the same thing I am. Now you're a comfort to those people. So I think that's also really powerful as well. Any other thoughts on that?
No, I totally agree with that. I think I used to run a podcast a couple of years ago. It was called Survivors, and I shared my story on, openly about my abuse as a child. For me, it was a healing thing, and it did help a couple of people. I got some emails back about it, but yeah, just you're quite right. Share your trauma, because you never know who it might help. At the moment, I'm writing a memoir about my life, and I'm hoping to publish it next year. And, as I remember things, I write it in ChatGPT and keep it there. And, hopefully it will help one person. If I can just help one person recognize the trauma that they've been through and how to heal, then I've done my job.
I love that. I love that. How long you been working on that memoir?
About 6 months.
About 6 months. Curious question. What struck you to start writing that memoir?
I wanted to do it, but my kids didn't want me to. So I've just not put any names in it. I've just said my daughter or my son or my other daughter. Just put those things in there rather than use names. That way that they can't be recognised, and everything's safe. Then it's just they just didn't want to be dragged into it.
Yeah, that's understandable. I can see that. Um, Now, as we begin to kind of like walk towards, wrapping things up in this interview, I've got a few more questions that I want to ask you here. So, one being, what do you hope listeners and clients walk away with after working with you and hearing your story?
I think what I would share is that be like me and just start. Don't think about the camera, don't think about the microphone. Just start. Share a story. If you're going to do a solo podcast, share your story, share your expertise. People are always looking for inspiration from others. So just do that. If you're going to do an interview podcast like I do, make sure that you have your questions available, and you appear confident even if you're not. And that, sometimes is the best way to go, is to appear confident and deal with the nerves later when the airing's done. I think, and all I want to do is help people. That's why I started Talking with the Experts, was to help business owners. Healing Through Love, I just want to help others survive and live through their trauma.
I love that. I love that. There's such heart in what you're doing. And I love the fact that um, you are doing that. You're bringing healing. You're giving people a place to step up. You're giving them a microphone. You're giving them a lot of warm stuff. And I love that. And so um, one of the other last questions I want to ask you. So what are 3 to 5 powerful things you'd like to leave the listener with today?
Now, number one is to be confident even if you're not. So just do the thing. If you think about it too long, you won't do it.
It's true.
Yeah. Number two would be to find your happy place in the world, and the rest will follow. There's always someone's always got a happy place. It doesn't matter how they're feeling. There is some place within them that brings them joy. So find that and use it and share it with the world, because the world needs to hear everything, not about you personally, but they need to hear everything to bring healing and to bring joy. And finally, I think, if you want to start a podcast, reach out to me and find me on my website.
Over 600 people, guys, are not people, over 600 episodes, guys. Reach out to her. All right. I have not met very many people that have got over 600 episodes. And so, Rose Davidson, she is a powerhouse in this. She knows what she's doing. She's got the repetitions. Repetitions. I was like, did I say that right? She's got all the things that you need. Reach out to her. And so with that, how can people reach out to you? If they want to work with you, and if they want to start their own podcast or explore what it looks like to start stepping up and getting in front of the mic, how can they get into your world? How can they connect with you?
Through my website, mainly at rosedavidson.com.au, or you can find me on LinkedIn at rose-davidson. And yeah, most of my stuff's on there. And the website has ebooks and all sorts of other articles and things on how to get started with a podcast, and follow my newsletter on LinkedIn.
Are those ebooks on your website? Do they have a little bit of a cost associated to them, or are they free gifts?
There are bundles. They do cost. There are some free ones on there. So just hit up the ebooks and you'll see the list of free ones, and then there's the paid ones after that.
So
I've got a 16 ebook bundle at the moment that I've got going, and you can buy it two ways. It's either the bundle, or you can buy the bundle and get a 1 hour coaching session with me.
Oh my gosh. Okay, guys. So that's a deal in itself. So you guys, she's got free resources. She's got bundles. She's got bundles with coaching attached to it. You got no excuse, you guys. Like she's got the whole package. She's got it all set up. There's something for everybody. So get into her world. What I'm going to say, so her bio and links are going to be in the description below this video. You can click on those and get into her world. So, and I would encourage you to do that. The podcast world is exploding nowadays, and a lot of that's thanks to the fake news that we know is going on out there. People are tired of it. They're tired of mainstream news. They're tired of, all the fakeness out there. The mainstream news, those aren't real journalists. That isn't what it looks like. We are actually the news now. And so get out there, speak your voice, get in front of the mic, connect with Rose, and get that started. That's what I'm going to encourage each and every one of you as viewers to do. And so lastly, before I throw in my little blurb towards the end here, do you have anything else that you would like to add or say?
I just want to thank you, Ken, for giving me this opportunity. It's not very often I get interviewed. And so for me, it's been quite a privilege. And yeah, everyone just find the courage to podcast, find the courage to find your joy, and, don't wait for the opportunities, create them.
Amen. Amen to that. So you guys, maybe this is your first time watching an expert interview with Ken. Maybe you're just like, okay, well, that's great for Rose, but who's this Ken guy? What does he do? Really shortly, you guys. So I have lost 62.5 pounds, and I've been able to keep that weight off for 7+ years now, all without a diet and having that be sustainable. The question remains is, how did I do that? And I'm going to tell you right now, how have I been able to keep that weight off for 7+ years? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not through a diet. It's not through injections. It wasn't through following a list. It wasn't through crazy restrictions. It wasn't through any of that. Right now, I'm actually giving away my 3 secrets to help you not only to lose the weight, but also to feel energized and to get healthy without dieting or starving. I have a mini educational bootcamp series that's just 3 one-on-one sessions with me, live one-on-one sessions, interactive, where I expose the 3 biggest lies that are keeping people sick, stuck, and overweight, because that's how that industry makes money. And I show them how they can fuel their body God's way so they can finally break free and keep the weight off for good, like I've been able to, easily, sustainably, without a diet. So below all Rose's stuff in the description, below that is going to be the links to get into my world. There's going to be a link to join my mini educational bootcamp, as well as other links to connect with me. And maybe you're not ready to join the bootcamp. There's also a link to book a free strategy call with me. Let's get on a Zoom call. Let me help you unpack your next steps. So there's lots of opportunity for you there. So anyhow, you guys, with that, Rose, this has been such a pleasure having you here and actually meeting somebody that has put in a lot of repetitions, has put in a lot of work, and has risen herself above in, the podcast world as a professional. It's been a pleasure having you on today's show. So you guys have a great rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are in the world and what time of day you are listening. And I'll catch you on the next expert interview. Talk to you guys later.